Hello, Mr. Smart. Dan, you're a student.
I am, yeah.
What do you study?
Media relations.
Media relations.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. My name is Carol Chouinard, and I am a corporate commercial lawyer. I've been practicing for approximately 20 years, and I'm really interested in hearing why you're here today. But before we get into that, I really want to deal with a few matters and explain a few things to you. First of all, I'd like to explain to you about client-solicitor privilege, and also the importance of having an open and honest discussion today so that I can properly advise you. And I'll also touch on the billing practices of this firm. In terms of solicitor-client privilege, what that means is anything that you say in the confines of this office today remain confidential. As well, as I indicated, it's very important that you be open and honest with me today so that we can advise you properly. And finally, with respect to billing, I had indicated to you previously that this first hour of consultation with me would be free of charge. And that will be the case, but if we have to take this matter further, either through correspondence, representation in court, or simply further meetings, then you will be billed at our regular hourly rate. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions or anything you want to discuss at this point?
No, well, just my story.
Okay, well, we'll get started then.
Okay.
So what brings you here today?
Well, I had this fantastic job at Harry Grant, and it's this web publishing firm, but I got fired because I couldn't do the job in time, and now I'm completely swamped. I'm completely sunk.
So it appears you were fired for cause. How long did you work for Mr. Grant?
About 4 months.
Did he give you any reasons for letting you go, for firing you?
Well, you see, I wasn't able to hand in the work on time, but that was all because of specific circumstances. But you have no idea how important this job is to me. I really, really need this job.
So let me understand this correctly. You worked for him for 4 months, and then you were fired because you didn't do something you were supposed to do, or you didn't do something on time. Are you currently collecting employment insurance?
I didn't know that I could qualify for employment insurance.
Okay, so you think that because you were fired, you're not eligible for employment insurance. We should try to get your record of employment and see what Mr. Grant put down on that record of employment. What was your salary when you were working with Mr. Grant?
It wasn't really salary per se, it was more so payment per job.
Can you explain further how you were paid per job?
Well, Harry Grant is a firm that specializes in web publishing. And so last summer they were looking for somebody to step in and do some work who was good with computers and who was an extremely fast typer, which represents me perfectly. So I got the job. Essentially, Harry Grant subcontracts a lot of his work and pays their subcontractors per page.
Okay, can you tell me a bit more about that?
So I worked all summer, was able to make a lot of money and wipe out a lot of my student debt, which is great, which is really important for me to graduate without or with very little debt. I think they were very impressed with my work because about a month ago, they called me and asked me if I was interested for more work. And I said, absolutely, I'm interested. That's fantastic news. I need the money. But as soon as he learned that I was a full-time student, he was hesitant to give me the job because he didn't think I could handle a full-time workload as well as a full-time student status or full-time student course load. So I was able to convince him. I did a bit of a sales job on him and was able to get 3 projects to kind of prove myself. So 1 large project and 2 smaller projects, which he gave to me. And if I did perform, if I did deliver, there would be more work to follow.
So what happened?
Well, first of all, I subcontracted a portion of the work to my brother. But I was really good at managing him and making sure that the quality of the work that he delivered was high. So the quality assurance piece was taken care of. But what happened one day was that I got home and there was just a perfect stream of water coming down directly onto my computer, flooding everything in my apartment. Everything was covered with 6 inches of water. It was just an incredible scene that I had never seen before, but my computer was just completely fried. There was nothing on it, and it wouldn't even turn on anymore. So I lost, needless to say, I lost all of my work. Everything that I had worked on for Harry Grand was done. It was out. It was lost. So needless to say, I couldn't meet that deadline. I couldn't hand in the work on time. I didn't get paid by Harry Grand. They pulled the other 2 projects. They left me in a situation where I couldn't pay for a new computer, and they said that before they give me new work, I'm going to have a new computer. I don't even know how I'm going to get through the next term of school without a computer. So essentially what I want, and I don't think that's unreasonable, is I want my landlord to pay a new computer and to pay me for my lost wages.
Okay, so you're not really here because you were fired, and my understanding now is that you're a contract worker and not an employee. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. That's why I didn't think I qualified for employment insurance at first. So it was because there was nothing that was getting deducted from my paycheck.
Tell me a bit more about the situation in your apartment and with the computer.
Well, when I called my landlord and demanded a new computer, we had a bit of a shouting match. We tend to butt heads like that. But he told me explicitly that I have 3 days to pay the rent. And he started quoting pieces of the lease agreement saying that the apartment was to be rented as is and that he wasn't responsible for any economic loss. And he started saying that he could evict me at any time because there was a no pets clause in my lease agreement, and I have a cat, which is absolutely ludicrous. I don't understand where that came from.
I see. Can you tell me a bit more about the rent?
Well, I've been withholding for 2 months, so I've been withholding the 2 months rent. But just you look on your face, I can't. You have to understand. You have to understand that this place is a complete rat hole. It's cockroach infested. I'm embarrassed to bring people over to the apartment because they don't clean up the halls. It's grimy. It's gross. It's dirty. I mean, I found a banana peel from 3 weeks ago in the halls, just rotting there. I mean, the heating is atrocious. It's steam heating, and I'm telling you that the landlord probably doesn't even bleed the pipes. He's so cheap, and the shadiest of parts of the entire project, the entire operation, is that the superintendent, I think, sells drugs from his apartment. So I've withheld for 2 months, and I got this idea from other tenants who have made a formal complaint or a formal they have been withholding formally the rent for 6 months.
Okay. Tell me a bit more about the flood.
Well, it came from the radiator pipe upstairs.
Have you spoken with the neighbor upstairs?
Funnily enough, I was there the morning that it happened. There was a valve that was sealed shut naturally, and I went up there to try to pry it open and try to get it open for her because I'm a chivalrous kind of guy, and just was just putting all of my elbow grease in there, putting some muscle into it, and couldn't get it loose. So I took out a wrench and just started banging at it and banging at it and banging at it, and finally I got it loose. Yeah, because I'm manual like that. And then I went on my way, and that was that. Actually, now that I think about it, I guess it's a funny coincidence that the pipe burst that same day.
Mm-hmm. And how much rent have you withheld to date?
$1,600 to date, but in a couple of days, in 3 days, it'll be $2,400 because of the next rent is due. Actually, I don't have the money to pay the rent. Because I didn't get paid by Harry Grand, I had to use the rent money for tuition. So I don't have that money right now. Also, I mean, it's not just me here, that it's not just my interests that are at play here. I promised my mother that I would get my brother this job and that I would get him some revenue, because he's under a tremendous amount of pressure. Right now he has just crippling gambling debts that are just stressing out the entire family, and my mother just doesn't know what to do about it or what else to do about it.
What can you tell me about the other tenants, the ones that have withheld rent?
Well, they were withholding it because of the shoddy service that they were receiving, so I just thought it was a great idea. Actually, I want to speak, I think it's really important to mention that I stood to earn a lot of money with Harry Grant. The initial project, the big project, was going to earn me $3,000, the one that I lost, that's sitting in my drenched computer at home. The other two projects that were a little bit smaller in size were to earn me $2,000 each. And in total, I was estimated to earn $20,000 with Harry Grant, which is astronomical for a student, and would have helped me graduate with absolutely no debts, or little to no debts, which is unheard of. And not to mention the value of them not being able to trust me in the soiled relationship that now lies between us. Actually, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
About the rent withholding piece, you see, my superintendent, he's a bit of a head in the clouds kind of guy. He doesn't know anything from one day to the other. He's a bit of a drug addict in that sense. I don't even think he would know his postal code if you asked him. So do you think it would help my case if I were to say that I verbally told him that I would withhold rent until the services were improved?
It's really important that you tell me exactly what happened as you remember it and as it happened. Otherwise, I really can't advise you properly.
Okay, well, I've told you everything. I've told you everything honestly. I've just given you nothing but the facts up until then. So I'll leave it at that. But actually, I have to run to class. I'm late. I'm late for the class, and I have to do well for this. Actually, I brought the eviction notice as well that says that I owe $2,400, which is absolutely false, because that's not even until a couple of days. Actually, I wanted to ask. I mean, I need a new computer, and I want to be paid this economic loss. Like, do you think I have a case? Do you think I could win? I mean, I can't be evicted, right? The services are atrocious. I told you how terrible the apartment was. I mean, I can't be evicted. I mean, do you think I have a good case?